The Tales of the Laxdale Saga is brought to you by NotaProfit.org, the place on the internet to find spiritual guidance powered by artificial intelligence. The Laxdale Saga, Part 13, Chapter LXXI, The Peace Between the Sons of Bolli and the Sons of Olaf, A.D. 1026. That winter the brothers would always be meeting, having talks together, and took no pleasure in games or any other pastime. And one time, when Thorleik was at tongue, the brothers talked day and night together. Snorri then thought he knew that they must be taking counsel together on some very great matter. So he went and joined the talk of the brothers. They greeted him well, but dropped their talk forthwith. He took their greeting well, and presently Snorri spoke. "What are you taking counsels about, so that ye heed neither sleep nor meat?" Bolli answers, "This is no framing of counsels, for that talk is one of but little mark which we talk together." Now Snorri found that they wanted to hide from him all that was in their minds, yet misdoubted him, that they must be talking chiefly of things from which great troubles might arise, in case they should be carried out. He Snorri spoke to them, "This I misdoubt me now, that it be neither a vain thing nor a matter of jest you are talking about for such long hours together, and I hold you quite excused, even if such should be the case. Now, be so good as to tell it me, and not to hide it away from me. We shall not, when gathered all together, be worse able to take counsel in this matter, for that shall now e'er stand in the way of anything going forward, whereby your honor grows the greater." Thorleik thought Snorri had taken up their case in a kindly manner, and told him in a few words their wishes, and how they had made up their minds to set on the sons of Olaf, and to put them to sore penalties. They said that now they lacked of nothing to bring the sons of Olaf to terms of equality, since Thorleik was a liege man of King Olaf, and Bolli was the son-in-law of such a chief as Snorri was. Snorri answered in this way, "For the slaying of Bolli enough has come in return, in that the life of Helgi Hardbeinsson was paid therefor. The troubles of men have been far too great already, and it is high time that now at last they be put a stop to." Bolli said, "What now, Snorri? Are you less keen now to stand by us than you gave out but a little while ago? Thorleik would not have told you our mind as yet if he had first taken counsel with me thereon, and when you claim that Helga's life has come in revenge for Bolli, it is a matter well known to men that a money fine was paid for the slaying of Helgi, while my father is still unatoned for." When Snorri saw he could not reason them into a change of mind, he offered them to try to bring about a peaceful atonement between them and the sons of Olaf, rather than that any more manslaughter should befall, and the brothers agreed to this. Then Snorri rode with some men to Herdholt. Halldor gave him a good welcome, and asked him to stay there, but Snorri said he must ride back that night. "But I have an urgent errand with you." So they fell to talking together, and Snorri made known his errand, saying it had come to his knowledge that Thorleik and Bolli would put up with it no longer that their father should be unatoned at the hands of the sons of Olaf, and now I would endeavor to bring about peace, and see if an end cannot be put to the evil luck that besets you kinsmen. Halldor did not flatly refuse to deal further with the case. "I know only too well that Thorgils Hellasson and Bolli's sons were minded to fall on me and my brothers, until you turned elsewhere their vengeance, so that thenceforward it seemed to them best to slay Helgi Hardbeinsson. In these matters you have taken a good part, whatever your counsels may have been like in regard to earlier dealings between us kinsmen." Snorri said, "I set a great store by my errand turning out well, and that it might be brought about which I have most at heart, that a sound peace should be settled between you kinsmen, for I know the minds of the men who have to deal with you in this case so well, that they will keep faithfully to whatever terms of peace he agree to." Halldor said, "I will undertake this, if it be the wish of my brothers, to pay money for the slaying of Bolli, such as shall be awarded by the umpires chosen, but I bargain that there be no outlawing of anybody concerned, nor forfeiture of my chieftainship or estate. The same claim I make in respect of the estates my brothers are possessed of, and I make a point of their being left free owners thereof, whatever be the close of this case, each side to choose their own umpire." Snorri answered, This is offered well and frankly, and the brothers will take this choice if they are willing to set any store by my counsel." Thereupon Snorri rode home and told the brothers the outcome of his errand, and that he would keep altogether aloof from their case if they would not agree to this. Bolli bade him have his own way, and I wish that you, Snorri, be umpire on our behalf. Then Snorri sent to Halldor to say that peaceful settlement was agreed to, and he bade them choose an umpire against himself. Halldor chose on his behalf Steinthor Thorlakson of Eyre. The peace meeting should be at Drangar on Shawstrand when 4 weeks of summer were past. Thorleik Bollisson rode to Hollafell, and nothing to tell tidings of befell that winter. And when time wore unto the hour bespoken for the meeting, Snorri the priest came there with the sons of Bolli, 15 together in all. Steinthor and his came with the same number of men to the meeting. Snorri and Steinthor talked together and came to an agreement about these matters. After that they gave out the award, but it is not told how much money they awarded. This, however, is told, that the money was readily paid and the peace well holden to. At the Thorness thing the fines were paid out. Halldor gave Bolli a good sword, and Steinthor Olafsson gave Thorleik a shield, which was also a good gift. Then the thing was broken up, and both sides were thought to have gained in esteem from these affairs. Chapter LXXII. Bolli and Thorleik go abroad, A.D. 1027, after the peace between Bolli and Thorleik and the sons of Olaf had been settled, and Thorleik had been 1 winter in Iceland, Bolli made it known that he was minded to go abroad. Snorri, dissuading him, said, "To us it seems there is a great risk to be run as to how you may speed, but if you wish to have in hand more than you have now, I will get you a manor and stock it for you. Therewithal I shall hand over to you chieftainship over men, and uphold you for honours in all things, and that, I know, will be easy, seeing that most men bear you goodwill." Bolli said, "I have long had it in my mind to go for once into southern lands, for a man is deemed to grow benighted if he learns to know nothing farther afield than what is to be seen here in Iceland." And when Snorri saw that Bolli had set his mind on this, and that it would come to naught to try to stop him, he bade him take as much money as he liked for his journey. Bolli was all for having plenty of money, "for I will not," he said, "be beholden to any man either here or in any foreign land." Then Bolli rode south to Bergfirth to White River, and bought half of a ship from the owners, so that he and his brother became joint owners of the same ship. Bolli then rides west again to his home. He and Thordis had 1 daughter, whose name was Herdis, and that maiden Gudrun asked to bring up. She was 1 year old when she went to Hollafell. Thordis also spent a great deal of her time there, for Gudrun was very fond of her. Chapter LXXII. Bolli's voyage. Now the brothers went both to their ship. Bolli took a great deal of money abroad with him. They now arrayed the ship, and when everything was ready, they put out to sea. The winds did not speed them fast, and they were a long time out at sea, but got to Norway in the autumn, and made Thrandheim in the north. Olaf the king was in the east part of the land, in the Wick, where he had made ingatherings for a stay through the winter. And when the brothers heard that the king would not come north to Thrandheim that autumn, Thorleik said he would go east along the land to meet King Olaf. Bolli said, "I have little wish to drift about between market towns in autumn days. To me that is too much of worry and restraint. I will rather stay for the winter in this town. I am told the king will come north in the spring, and if he does not then, I shall not set my face against our going to meet him." Bolli has his way in the matter, and they put up their ship and got their winter quarters. It was soon seen that Bolli was a very pushing man, and would be the first among other men, and in that he had his way, for a bounteous man was he, and so got speedily to be highly thought of in Norway. Bolli kept a suite about him during the winter at Thrandheim, and it was easily seen, when he went to the guild meeting places, that his men were both better arrayed as to raiment and weapons than other townspeople. He alone also paid for all his suite when they sat drinking in guild halls, and on a par with this were his open-handedness and lordly ways in other matters. Now the brothers stay in the town through the winter. That winter the king sat east in Sarpsborg, and news spread from the east that the king was not likely to come north. Early in the spring the brothers got their ship ready and went east along the land. The journey sped well for them, and they got east to Sarpsborg, and went forthwith to meet King Olaf. The king gave a good welcome to Thorleik, his henchmen, and his followers. Then the king asked who was that man of stately gait in the train of Thorleik, and Thorleik answered, "He is my brother, and is named Bolli." "He looks, indeed, a man of high mettle," said the king. Thereupon the king asks the brothers to come and stay with him, and that offer they took with thanks, and spend the spring with the king. The king was as kind to Thorleik as he had been before, yet he held Bolli by much in greater esteem, for he deemed him even peerless among men. And as the spring went on, the brothers took counsel together about their journeys, and Thorleik asked Bolli if he was minded to go back to Iceland during the summer, or will you stay on longer here in Norway? Bolli answered, "I do not mean to do either. And sooth to say, when I left Iceland, my thought was settled on this, that people should not be asking for news of me from the house next door. And now I wish, brother, that you take over our ship." Thorleik took it much to heart that they should have to part. "But you, Bolli, will have your way in this as in other things." Their matter thus bespoken they laid before the king, and he answered thus, "Will you not tarry with us any longer, Bolli?" Said the king, "I should have liked it best for you to stay with me for a while, for I shall grant you the same title that I granted to Thorleik, your brother." Then Bolli answered, "I should be only too glad to bind myself to be your henchman, but I must go first whither I am already bent, and have long been eager to go. But this choice I will gladly take, if it be fated to me to come back. You will have your way as to your journeyings, Bolli." Says the king, "For you Icelanders are self-willed in most matters, but with this word I must close, that I think you, Bolli, the man of greatest mark that has ever come from Iceland in my days." And when Bolli had got the king's leave, he made ready for his journey, and went on board a trade ship that was bound south for Denmark. He also took a great deal of money with him, and sundry of his followers bore him company. He and King Olaf parted in great friendship, and the king gave Bolli some handsome gifts at parting. Thorleik remained behind with King Olaf, but Bolli went on his way till he carned south to Denmark. That winter he tarried in Denmark, and had great honour there of mighty men. Nor did he bear himself there in any way less lordly than while he was in Norway. When Bolli had been a winter in Denmark, he started on his journey out into foreign countries, and did not halt in his journey till he came to Miklagarth, Constantinople. He was there only a short time before he got himself into the Varangian Guard, and from what we have heard, no Northman had ever gone to take war-pay from the Garth king before Bolli, Bolli's son. He tarried in Miklagarth very many winters, and was thought to be the most valiant in all deeds that try a man, and always went next to those in the forefront. The Varangians accounted Bolli most highly of, whilst he was with them in Miklagarth. Chapter LXXII. Thorkel Eyjolfsson goes to Norway. Now the tale is to be taken up again, where Thorkel Eyjolfsson sits at home in lordly way. His and Gudrun's son, Gellir, grew up there at home, and was early both a manly fellow and winning. It is said how once upon a time Thorkel told Gudrun a dream he had had. "I dreamed," he said, "that I had so great a beard that it spread out over the whole of Broadfirth." Thorkel bade her read his dream. Gudrun said, "What do you think this dream betokens?" He said, "To me it seems clear that in it is hinted that my power will stand wide about the whole of Broadfirth." Gudrun said, "Maybe that such is the meaning of it, but I rather should think that thereby is betokened that you will dip your beard down into Broadfirth." That same summer Thorkel runs out his ship and gets it ready for Norway. His son Gellir was then 12 winters old, and he went abroad with his father. Thorkel makes it known that he means to fetch timber to build his church with, and sails forthwith into the main sea when he was ready. He had an easy voyage of it, but not a very short one, and they hove into Norway northwardly. King Olaf then had his seat in Thrandheim, and Thorkel sought forthwith a meeting with King Olaf, and his son Gellir with him. They had there a good welcome. So highly was Thorkel accounted of that winter by the king, that all folk tell that the king gave him not less than 100 marks of refined silver. The king gave to Gellir at Yule a cloak, the most precious and excellent of gifts. That winter King Olaf had a church built in the town of Timber, and it was a very great minster, all materials there too being chosen of the best. In the spring the timber which the king gave to Thorkel was brought on board ship, and large was that timber and good in kind, for Thorkel looked closely after it. Now it happened one morning early that the king went out with but few men, and saw a man up on the church which then was being built in the town. He wondered much at this, for it was a good deal earlier than the smiths were wont to be up. Then the king recognized the man, and lo! there was Thorkel Eyjolfsson taking the measure of all the largest timber, crossbeams, sills, and pillars. The king turned at once thither, and said, "What now, Thorkel? Do you mean after these measurements to shape the church timber which you are taking to Iceland?" "Yes, in truth, sire," said Thorkel. Then said King Olaf, "Cut 2 ells off every main beam, and that church will yet be the largest built in Iceland." Thorkel answered, "Keep your timber yourself if you think you have given me too much, or your hand itches to take it back, but not an ell's length shall I cut off it. I shall both know how to go about and how to carry out getting other timber for me." Then says the king most calmly, "So it is, Thorkel, that you are not only a man of much account, but you are also now making yourself too big, for to be sure, it is too overweening for the son of a mere peasant to try to vie with us. But it is not true that I begrudge you the timber, if only it be fated to you to build a church therewith, for it will never be large enough for all your pride to find room to lie inside it. But near it comes to the foreboding of my mind, that the timber will be of little use to men, and that it will be far from you ever to get any work by man done with this timber." After that they ceased talking, and the king turned away, and it was marked by people that it misliked him how Thorkel accounted as of naught what he said. Yet the king himself did not let people get the wind of it, and he and Thorkel parted in great goodwill. Thorkel got on board his ship and put to sea. They had a good wind, and were not long out about the main. Thorkel brought his ship to Ramfirth, and rode soon from his ship home to Hallafell, where all folk were glad to see him. In this journey Thorkel had gained much honor. He had his ship hauled ashore and made snug, and the timber for the church he gave to a caretaker, where it was safely bestowed, for it could not be brought from the north this autumn, as he was at all time full of business. Thorkel now sits at home at his manor throughout the winter. He had Yule, drinking at Hallafell, and to it there came a crowd of people, and altogether he kept up a great state that winter. Nor did Gudrun stop him therein, for she said the use of money was that people should increase their state therewith. Moreover, whatever Gudrun must needs be supplied with for all purposes of high-minded display, that she said would be readily forthcoming from her husband. Thorkel shared that winter amongst his friends many precious things he had brought with him out to Iceland. Chapter LXXII. Thorkel and Thorstein and Halldor Olafsson, A.D. 1026. That winter after Yule, Thorkel got ready to go from home north to Ramfirth to bring his timber from the north. He rode first up into the dales and then to Leash, as to Thorstein, his kinsman, where he gathered together men and horses. He afterwards went north to Ramfirth and stayed there a while, taken up with the business of his journey, and gathered to him horses from about the firth, for he did not want to make more than one journey of it if that could be managed. But this did not speed swiftly, and Thorkel was busy at this work even into Lent. At last he got under way with the work, and had the wood dragged from the north by more than 20 horses, and had the timber stacked on Leire, meaning later on to bring it in a boat out to Hallafell. Thorstein owned a large ferry boat, and this boat Thorkel was minded to use for his homeward voyage. Thorkel stayed at Lee Shaw's through Lent, for there was dear friendship between these kinsmen. Thorstein said one day to Thorkel they had better go to Herdholt, for I want to make a bid for some land from Halldor, he having but little money since he paid the brothers the weregild for their father, and the land being just what I want most. Thorkel bade him do as he liked, so they left home a party of 20 men together. They come to Herdholt, and Halldor gave them good welcome, and was most free of talk with them. There were few men at home, for Halldor had sent his men north to Steingrim's Firth, as a whale had come ashore there in which he owned a share. Bainr the Strong was at home, the only man now left alive of those who had been there with Olaf, the father of Halldor. Halldor had said to Bainr at once when he saw Thorstein and Thorkel riding up, "I can easily see what the errand of these kinsmen is. They are going to make me a bid for my land, and if that is the case they will call me aside for a talk. I guess they will seat themselves each on either side of me. So, then, if they should give me any trouble, you must not be slower to set on Thorstein than I on Thorkel. You have long been true to us kinsfolk. I have also sent to the nearest homesteads for men, and at just the same moment I should like these two things to happen, the coming in of men summoned, and the breaking up of our talk." Now as the day wore on, Thorstein hinted to Halldor that they should all go aside and have some talk together, "for we have an errand with you." Halldor said it suited him well. Thorstein told his followers they need not come with them, but Bainr went with them none the less, for he thought things came to pass very much after what Halldor had guessed they would. They went very far out into the field. Halldor had on a pinned-up cloak with a long pin brooch, as was the fashion then. Halldor sat down on the field, but on either side of him each of these kinsmen, so near that they sat well, nigh on his cloak. But Bainr stood over them with a big axe in his hand. Then said Thorstein, "My errand here is that I wish to buy land from you, and I bring it before you now because my kinsman Thorkel is with me. I should think that this would suit us both well, for I hear that you are short of money, while your land is costly to husband. I will give you in return an estate that will beseem you, and into the bargain as much as we shall agree upon." In the beginning Halldor took the matter as if it were not so very far from his mind, and they exchanged words concerning the terms of the purchase, and when they felt that he was not so far from coming to terms, Thorkel joined eagerly in the talk, and tried to bring the bargain to a point. Then Halldor began to draw back rather, but they pressed him all the more. Yet at last it came to this, that he was the further from the bargain the closer they pressed him. Then said Thorkel, "Do you not see, kinsman Thorstein, how this is going? Halldor has delayed the matter for us all day long, and we have sat here listening to his fooling and wiles. Now if you want to buy the land we must come to closer quarters." Thorstein then said he must know what he had to look forward to, and bade Halldor now come out of the shadow, as to whether he was willing to come to the bargain. Halldor answered, "I do not think I need keep you in the dark as to this point, that you will have to go home tonight without any bargain struck." Then said Thorstein, "Nor do I think it needful to delay making known to you what we have in our mind to do, for we, deeming that we shall get the better of you by reason of the odds on our side, have bethought us of two choices for you. One choice is, that you do this matter willingly and take in return our friendship, but the other, clearly a worse one, is that you now stretch out your hand against your own will, and sell me the land of Herdholt." But when Thorstein spoke in this outrageous manner, Halldor leapt up so suddenly that the brooch was torn from his cloak, and said, "Something else will happen before I utter that which is not my will." "What is that?" said Thorstein. "A poleaxe will stand on your head from one of the worst of men, and thus cast down your insolence and unfairness." Thorkel answered, "That is an evil prophecy, and I hope it will not be fulfilled. And now I think there is ample cause why you, Halldor, should give up your land and have nothing for it." Then Halldor answered, "Sooner you will be embracing the sea tangle in Broadfirth than I sell my land against my own will." Halldor went home after that, and the men he had sent for came crowding up to the place. Thorstein was of the Rothest, and wanted forthwith to make an onset on Halldor. Thorkel bade him not to do so, for that is the greatest enormity at such a season as this. But when this season wears off, I shall not stand in the way of his and ours clashing together. Halldor said he was given to think he would not fail in being ready for them. After that they rode away and talked much together of this their journey, And Thorstein, speaking thereof, said that, truth to tell, their journey was most wretched. But why, kinsman Thorkel, were you so afraid of falling on Halldor and putting him to some shame? Thorkel answered, Did you not see Baner, who stood over you with the axe reared aloft? Why, it was an utter folly, for forthwith on seeing me likely to do anything, he would have driven that axe into your head. They rode now home to Leash, Oz, and lent wares and passion weak sets in.